chariot coming for to carry me home. Sweet love, sweet chariot coming for to carry me home. I looked over Jordan, and what did I see? Coming for to carry me home. A band of angels coming after me, coming for to carry me home. The angels are there, reaching out to me, telling me I'm an old spirit of an old woman who needs to step on into that chariot and get on home and rest. I can't rest. I done made a life of helping others, and my spirit won't give that up. I remember when I was young and saw white ladies reaching out to me. Then it meant I had to find my freedom. There's still some needs help finding theirs. That's why this soul spirit keeps coming back. I got to be here. Make sure everybody know where to look to find their way. So I'm going to tell you a story. My story. And I'm going to share with you some of the things I learned along the way to growing old, and hope you find some way to make use of yourself. Now, my story wasn't always pretty. When I was young, the world was different from it is today. I wasn't allowed to have goals and dream of being something when I grew up. Decisions about my life weren't mine to make. When I was young, I didn't own nothing. Not even myself. When I was young, I was a slave. I was born a slave in Bucktown, Maryland about 1820. When I was real small, I just ran around wild because slave children weren't expected to know nothing. Except how to work when the time come. Now, I was lucky. I had my family with me. My mama, Harriet Green, who I'm named after, and my daddy, Benjamin Ross, and my... sisters. Not all slave owners recognized the families of their slaves. Guess my master, Edward Broadus, was decent in that way at least. But that didn't keep him from selling family members, though. I remember I was 5, 6 years old, and he sold 2 of my sisters on that chain gang going south. My mama begged him not to sell her babies. And he just said, "Now, Rick, you know I need money to keep the plantation going well. I just fetch a real good price for them 2 gals there." Now, you ought to just be glad you make them strong like that. Them 2 gonna keep the rest from being sold off. For now. And my sisters were standing there in that chain gang. Chains around their neck and round their wrists. Chains around their ankles and dragging between their feet. And they looked at me and my mama, old Rick, crying. Tears running down their face. Then their overseers cracked their whips and the peoples in the chain gang moved off, dragging them chains. And my mama, she just standing there and stared. No tears, no nothing. Just stared on after them till they was gone. And about the time I'm wondering why my mama don't do nothing, I realized she can't do nothing. As the overseers with watches over us cracks their whips, sending everybody big enough back to the field to work. emotion what it meant being a slave. Got the second one about a year after that when I was hired out to this family named Cook. Now, I was running through the quarter where we live with my cousins. See, down to the quarter, we all cousins, even if we ain't kids. And Master Brothers come call me.
Say, Bint, come on over here, gal.
Now, Master Brothers ain't even never called me before, let alone call me Minty like my family. And he ain't none of my family, that's for sure. So I stops running, but I don't go over there. 'Cause in one mind, I remember my sisters on that chain gang. And in the other one, I remember how them that don't do what they's told gets tagged with that rawhide whip. So I was kind of stuck trying to decide what way to go. But then it didn't matter none. 'Cause Brody snatched me up and threw me in the wagon next to that cook lady and off we go. And I looked back just once at my mama. And she just standing there, staring. No tears, no nothing. Then I'm scared. I ain't got no tears or nothing. So I pray. Well, looked like the Lord got to answer that prayer. 'Cause wasn't long before the cooks brought me back saying I'm untrainable. I didn't want to sit inside all day long trying to learn to weed. All that dust and lint from the yard making me cough and sneeze all the time. I liked it better outside checking the muskrat tracks. Some of them I set free too, 'cause I couldn't stand to see them in them cages. But the water was deep for me and cold. Pretty soon I was sick with the measles. So Brothers took me back and my mama fixed me up and I was just spending around with the cousins. And I was hired out again. I was 7 years old when I was sent to care for a baby. I was so little, I had to sit on the floor and have the baby put in my lap. And that baby was always in my lap. Well, except for when it was asleep or its mama was feeding it. One morning, after breakfast, she had the baby, and I was standing by the table waiting till I was to take it. Well, near me was a bowl of lumps of white sugar. Oh, my mistress got into a great quarrel with her husband, and she had a terrible temper and would scold and scorn and call him all kind of names. Now, you know, I ain't never had nothing good. No sweet. No sugar. That sugar ate their body in that bowl did look so nice. And my mistress's back was turned to me when she was fighting with her husband. So I just put my fingers in the bowl and took one little lump. She must have hurt me or something, for she turned to see me. Next thing, she had the rawhide down. Well, I took one leap out the door and seen they come after me. But I flew, and they didn't catch me. I ran and ran and ran, and I passed many a house, but I didn't dare stop because they all knew my mistress and would send me back. By and by, when I was about tuckered out, I come to a great pig pen. And it was an old sow and 8 to 10 little pigs. Well, I climbed over the fence and tumbled in. So beaten up, I couldn't even stir. And there I stayed from Friday until the next Tuesday, fighting with them little pigs for potato skins and other scraps that come through the trough. Ooh, and that old sow would push me away when I tried to get her children's food. I was awful afraid of her. Tuesday, I was so starved, I knew I had to go back to my mistress. I ain't had no place else to go, even though I knew what was coming. So I went back, and I was whipped. And then I was dumped back at the Broadus plantation. My mama healed the wounds on my neck, and I didn't get to think about the cousins, and I was hired out again. This time I was sent to split rails and load timber into wagons. Now I was kind of small for this kind of work, but at least I was outside and not under the hawk eye of the lady of the house. At least I had that much freedom. Freedom, oh freedom, oh freedom over me. And before I'll be a slave, I'll be buried in my grave and go home to my Lord and be free. Freedom was something I was thinking about more and more. I'd heard about Nat Turner and how he led a rebellion of 60 slaves against their owners, and more than 50 white people. Men, women, and children have been killed. Now, I was glad to hear of slaves fighting for their freedom, but it didn't seem to do no good. Because Nat Turner could read. They made it a crime to educate a slave. And because he recruited other slaves to his cause, they made it against the law for slaves to assemble. What meant no more talking in the field, and couldn't go to church no more, couldn't sing certain songs no more neither. That might be signals for uprising or escape. But still the stories come. The slaves running off and never coming back. And the dead ones caught and whipped and branded and sent to the deep south, where they say they just puts them in a field to work, sun up till sundown till they die. I hear white people to the north that's fighting against slavery. Oh, and there's something called the Underground Railroad that's helping slaves get free. All this talk going on. One fall day, I was working out in the field, and I seen this boy from the quarter trying to sneak off. Now, I looked for the overseer to find he already done seen the boy and give chase, and when I the boy, he done took off running. Well, now, I'm wondering if maybe this boy ain't got a ticket for this Underground Railroad train, and it ain't gonna come up from out the ground and carry him off or something. So I run to see what's gonna happen. The boy went up to the crossroads and into the general store there where he cornered. Overseer, all set to whoop him, tells me to hold him so he could be tied up. I wasn't but 12 or 13 years old, and that boy was too big for me to hold him. Well, I wouldn't hold him if I could. So I just stood there. And the boy took that minute to dart behind me and on out the door. Ooh, overseer mad? Say, you stupid jigaboo! And he picked up a 2-pound weight from off the weigh scale and throw it after the boy, only I dropped to the ground. Blood gushing from a gash in my head. I don't know how I got home, but my mama stopped the bleeding and tended the wound and watched over me. She watched over me and prayed over me every minute she could between working the garden at the big house. Master Brothers come watch over me. See how soon he could sell me. Tells old Rick, soon as she's well, she's gone. You hear me? I ain't keeping no one around here thinking they can do what they want. It's your fault, Rick. You ain't never taught her her place. And in my half sleep, I'd hear him. But I couldn't say or do anything, so inside my mind, I'd pray, saying, Dear Lord, please, change this man's heart and make him Christian. And so, as I lay so sick on my bed from Christmas through March, I was always praying for old Massa. always bringing in someone to see me for sale. That spring, I got sent back to work, even though I got terrible headaches and blacked out from time to time. That spring also, word come down that me and 3 of my brothers was to be sold south with the next chain gang. Whoo, then my prayers for old master weren't so merciful. And I said, Lord, now if you ain't gonna change this man's heart, woo, then kill him, Lord, you hear me? Kill him and take him out the way so he can't do no more mischief. And he died. Before the week was out, he died. I was only 14 years old, and I prayed the man dead. Now, I know prayer's a powerful thing, but well, how did the Lord decide what prayer to answer and what not? How could a man die but his heart didn't ever change? Somewhere deep inside, I understood the man didn't know no better. He was taught to treat the slaves that way. But what was in my heart that I could pray a man dead? Oh, I'd give the world full of silver and gold to bring him back, but I couldn't pray no more for poor old massa. Then, seemed like a spirit possessed me, and I was always praying, always talking to the Lord. Well, I'd go to the horse trough to take up water and say, Lord, please wash me. Make me clean. Or if I take up a towel to wipe my hands and face, I said, Lord, for Jesus' sake, wipe all my sins away. Or if I took up a broom to sweep, I'd say, Lord, whatsoever sin there be in my body, sweep it, Lord, clear and clean. But I can't pray no more for poor old massa. Heartbroken as I was about praying Master Brodus dead, I did get what I wanted. Me and my brothers wasn't sold south. Brodus's will said none of his slaves could be sold out of state, so I ended up being hired out to this man named Stewart and working with my daddy, old Ben. Now, you know, it started to occur to me that the Lord may not answer all my prayers just the way I ask him, but he do seem to watch out for me. I mean, whenever I've been in trouble, the Lord done help me out. Somehow, knowing this, I could believe in myself. By trusting the Lord, I could do anything. Someday, with the Lord's help, I'd be free. I didn't know how or when, but I'd be ready. Then a feeling come over me, let me know I wasn't no child no more. I didn't think the thoughts I was thinking was the thoughts of a child. Why, a girl feeling this strong within herself must be a woman. And as a woman, I got the right to wear the symbol of womanhood that's been passed down to daughters by daughters of queens of Africa. So I stepped back to the cabinet fashion, be a bandana. Then I said to myself, back home in Africa, I would have been a Ashanti warrior queen, and this my crown. Then my mama come in and say, Minty, what you... And she stopped when she see me in the bandana. And I'm thinking, ooh, now I'm in trouble. Because I done tore this cloth off something she was sewing on. But she just looked at me a minute. Then she said, well, Harriet, you best get back out there with your daddy before you's missed. That was all. So I was Harriet when I went to work with my daddy on that timber crew. I loved working out in the woods with my daddy, old Ben, so much. He taught me everything. The names of all the birds in the trees. Ooh, what berries was good to eat. And what was poisonous, and how to find the bark of hemlock, and the root of water lily, and the leaf of cranesbill, because they can cure all kind of ailments. And how to feel feel for the moss on the north side of the tree. Got so I could find them all with my fingers for my eyes even seen to them. He taught me how to travel through the woods secret-like without making a sound. Say, "Don't go crashing through the woods, mashing things down like a cow, Harriet." Anyone could do that. You practice. Learn to move so quiet, not even a bird on the nest will hear it and fly up. Me and him never did talk about why I got to walk so quiet. One time, I practiced by sneaking up on old Ben. He jumped like to the moon and say, "No, don't be sneaking up on an old man like that." But I could look in his eyes and see he was proud. Times like this, working out in the woods with my daddy, making a little money for myself, I can almost get content with my life. Till Master Stewart called me up. Now, you know, I've been out swinging axes with the best of them, so I'm known to be pretty strong. Master Stewart likes to show this off. So I get hitched up to this boat that's been loaded with stone, and I'm supposed to walk alongside the river, dragging it behind, with Stewart saying, "See, told you she's strong. Strong like a man. Maybe even an animal. Pay up now, everybody." And there'd be laughter and applause from the men's watching. Now, I wasn't no animal, and I wasn't going to stand being treated like one. I got a mind, and in my mind, I got a vision of me being free. I seem to see a line, and across that line, there's green fields with lovely flowers, and these beautiful white ladies with their arms stretching out to me across that line. So I go on, and I pull that boat for their amusement, but all the while I'm thinking, yeah, you laugh, but I'm gonna be free. You go on and laugh, cause I'm gonna be free. For I decided no one could change the belief I have for myself that I'd be free. What I had in my mind did belong to me. No one could take that away. Oh, now, there was something else I had on my mind lately. That was a vision of me with John Tubman. John Tubman, a free black man, living in a cabin outside the plantation. Ooh, he was tall and strong and handsome, and had a real pretty smile, and ooh, a hug that felt just like home. Once we jumped the broom and was married, I went to go stay with John. And I brought this quilt I made. Now you know, I might be able to haul a boat loaded with stone and fell a tree in minutes. Ooh, but trying to thread a needle about the hardest thing I ever done. Something nice to start my marriage, but making that quilt about drove me mad. It was beautiful when it was finished, though. Once I was with John, I started thinking more and more about me being free. Now, I had heard that my mama, old Rick, was supposed to have been free a long time ago, so I saved up for about a year till I had $5 to pay a lawyer to look into it for me. Come to find out, old Rick was legally free since she was 45. Wait a minute, legally, I was free too. Lawyers say, "Oh, now, don't get too excited because too much time has passed for any judge to give it serious consideration." Oh, my Lord. Ooh, I was angry. No sense asking how they could do that because they just did. that, I started having the same terrible dreams over and over again. Dreams of ships with their decks painted red with blood, and of a woman clutching her baby to her chest and jumping overboard into the sea. And of screaming women and children being dragged off to a slavery far worse than what we had in Maryland. When I'd black out, I'd see those white ladies reaching out to me and hear the North Star call my name. Well, I tried telling John about these dreams, and he just said, "You must be a dimwit. Only a dimwit be having the same dream over and over." I say, "No, John, these dreams mean we gotta go north where I can be free." He said, "I ain't going nowhere. I'm free here." "But John," I said, "I gotta be free too." Then he looked at me with a fire in his eyes I'd never seen before, and he said, "You go on, take off, and I'm gonna go to that master of yours right quick. You hear me? Right quick!" I was stunned. John knew what happened to the runaways that was caught. So I said, "But John, you can't mean that." "Try me and see," he said. "You just try me and see." After that, I never say no more to John about my freedom. Freedom was something more and more people around me was talking about, though. There was rumors of this white woman on the road to Bucktown helped slaves escape. Now, I'd see her from time to time riding by in her buggy. Why, she'd look at me and smile. Didn't hardly know what a white person do that. One time, she come over to ask me about the scar, so I told her the story. Then she looked out across the field like I wasn't even there, and she said, "The last farmhouse on this road, before you get to Bucktown, is mine. Now, if you should ever need me for anything, you come and you find me there. Do you understand? Anything." And then she was gone. Well, about this time the plantation was in an uproar, because Brodus's heir had died, and there was rumors that slaves was to be sold off to pay off debts. So I started trying to make it for this white woman's house, and I asked 3 of my brothers to come with me, so I don't have to travel alone, in case I black out or something. What I want to go and do that for? Trying to travel with them 3 was like trying to travel 3 big babies. They trip over every log, they jump at every sound, and scared to death of the slave catchers and hound dogs that chases runaways. Finally, Day tells me that Day's afraid, and Day's going back, and I'm going back with him. I couldn't believe it. These 3 great big grown men was afraid to go for their freedom. Now, I learned something about the power of fear then. Fear could be strong as chains in keeping someone from something they want. Fear of failure, fear of success, fear of freedom. My brothers was afraid of what going for their freedom might bring. I'm thinking, let me get free, and then I'll worry about that. For this I had reasoned out in my mind. I had the right to one of 2 things, liberty or death. And if I couldn't have one, I'd have the other, for no man should take me alive. I'd fight for my liberty as long as my strength lasted. When it was time for me to go, the good Lord would let him take me. 2 days after that, word come down that I was to be sold south the next morning. Couldn't worry about blacking out now. I had to trust the Lord with this prayer. "Lord, now, I'm a hold steady on to you. You gotta see me through." That night, I gathered up a few of my things. Then I went over to my sister's cabin and her son. When that old chariot comes, friends, I'm gonna leave ya. I'm bound for that promised land. Farewell, oh farewell. myself away. The night was black as coal as I set out. The way going was easy first, because at least I knew the land close by. Traveled mostly through swamps and rivers, so as I wouldn't leave no scent for the dogs to follow. Oh my Lord, I tried not to hear the screams of the men being mauled by dogs. Or the sound of a woman being raped. Or the pounding of the hoofs of horses as the slave catchers give chase. A dog bark seemed like right behind me, and I took off running. No, don't go crashing through the woods, mashing things down like a cow. Those men's voices, they sound so close to me now. If they catch me, they'll kill me. At least they'll cut off my foot, burn an R in my forehead, drag me behind horses to the deep south. Oh Lord, now I'm afraid. No, I'm not afraid. I shall not be afraid. Lord, I'm holding steady. Ladies, I'm coming. I'm holding steady. Come on, Harriet. You can do this. You got to do this. So I tried to remember all the things old Ben taught me, and I shut out the rest of the sounds by singing to myself. I'm bound for that promised land. And quietly but quickly, I made my way to that last farmhouse before Bucktown. Oh, my heart was pounding. What if the woman wasn't home? What if she was just trying to trick me to sell South herself? What if this wasn't even the right house? So many questions was running through my mind. Ooh, my head started pounding and my eyes started seeing things blurry like it. I knew I couldn't just black out on the porch, so I decided to have some trust for this woman and went up to knock at the door. A voice inside said, "Who's there?" So I said, Harriet Tubman, from the Brodus plantation. Then the door opened and I fell inside. When I come to, I heard the woman telling somebody there with her about my blackouts. When she seen me stir, she come over to me saying, "Oh, thank the Lord you're awake. It's not safe for you here. You must go out back through the field where you'll find a river. Follow that going north until you get to the fork. There'll be a house. Go there, knock on the door, and say, 'A friend of a friend,' and then you'll be safe." And I took the piece of paper she reached out to me. Now, you know, I couldn't read a lick. So I asked if this wasn't a ticket for that Underground Railroad train. Well, felt almost foolish when she explained to me that the Underground Railroad wasn't no train. Just people that believed that slavery was wrong and so helped the slaves escape. People helping people, she said, the way it should be. So I thanked the woman and I set out again. I was beat by the time I got to the next place. About dawn, went up and knocked to the door and said, "A friend of a friend." Then the door opened and a broom was stuck in my hand. Hey, now what the? Lord, don't tell me I done come all this way for nothing. Then I saw men and dogs across the field, and I realized if I'm sweeping, I won't look like a runaway. So I swept as they passed, and I kept my head down so couldn't no one see the scar and recognize me. Then, when all was clear, the woman invited me in and fed me. Lord, I ain't never seen all this kind of food before. I mean, most I ever really ate was cornmeal and smoked herring. But this was something she called roast leg of lamb and turkey and biscuits and jam and all kind of good things to eat. Well, now, I really just wanted to stay on there a few days and make sure all this food was set up good. But night coming, it was time for me to move on. So the man of the house hid me in his wagon beneath some vegetables, and off we went to the next safe house. And so I went, traveling by night, hiding by day, through swamp and wood, till come one morning, I found I'd crossed the line into freedom. Oh, now, I looked at my hands to see if I still the same person now that I was free. Oh, there was such a glory over everything. Oh, the sun come up through the trees and over the field like gold. And I felt like I was in heaven. Oh, but that glory was short-lived when I realized I was alone. There was no one to welcome me to a land of freedom. Just like a man who gets out of prison after 25 years to find out all he knew was gone, I was a stranger in a strange land. My home, after all, was back in the old cabin with the old folks and my sisters and brothers. But to this solemn resolution I came. I was free, and they should be free also. I built a home for us in the north, and Lord help me, I bring them all here. Well, that vow having been made, I set off for Philadelphia to try and find the means to fulfill it. Now, I was willing to do most anything to get the money to help my family, so I cooked and cleaned. First chance to help come after about a year, when I attended a meeting of the Philadelphia Vigilance Committee and heard my sister and her family was stuck in Baltimore trying to escape. Now, this committee, set up by this free black man named William Still to help escape slaves. And he advised me against going back, saying, it's too dangerous. But I had a mission. Wasn't nothing keeping me from it. So I went on back to Baltimore, and I got my sister and her family, and I brought them safely to Philadelphia. Then, after that, more and more peoples wanted me to help get them out of slavery. So I did. Sometimes I'd tell them the safest route, sometimes I'd show them. Went back 19 times in all. I'd go back to Maryland and pick a plantation, then walk through the quarter late at night singing this forbidden song. Go down, Moses, way down in Egypt land, tell O Pharaoh to let my people go. And that would be the signal for all them that want to come with me to be ready. Got some folks was calling me Moses. I dressed like a man so I couldn't be recognized, and steal folks away on Saturday night so they wouldn't be missed till Monday. Then pay someone to take down the wanted posters that were sure to be put up. I never used the exact same route twice, and I knew all the safest hiding places, swamps, abandoned sheds, ditches. One time, even had to hide in manure and breathe through straws. Yep. I'd work up to the north to get the money for my trip south to help other slaves escape. Now, once someone come with me, wasn't no going back. With me, it was live free or die. Wasn't nobody getting a chance to go back and tell everything they knew. I wasn't risking the lives of all the good people on the Underground Railroad because of one or two cowards. I'd kill them first. Well, never actually had to kill anybody. More than 300 people come with me out of slavery, and I never run my train off the track, and I never lost a passenger. Not even that Fugitive Slave Act could slow me down. Now, this law saying all a white man got to do was swear in court that a black man or woman was their slave, even if they wasn't, and they could drag them on back to the South. Well, I wasn't trusting my people with Uncle Sam no longer. Canada, up to the north, had already abolished slavery, so that's where we had to go now. The trip there was long and hard, and some of them folks traveling with me from the warm weather to deep south, were used to that bone-biting chill that could come with a Canadian winter, or the ice, or snow. Yep, living with the cold was hard work. But these people was used to hard working. Well, now they was working hard for themselves. Don't seem so much like work then.
I even got me a home up in Canada, in St. Catherine. And I planted a vegetable garden, kept my house open for any old poor soul who needed someplace to stay or something to eat. In Canada, we were safe from the laws of the United States. Now, of all the trips I made back to the South, there's just three that stand out most in my mind. Oh, the first was when I went back to get John Tubman. It's been 2 years since I seen my husband. I went up to the new cabin he built for himself, and I knocked on the door. He opened it. Looked like he don't recognize me. I say, "It's me, Harriet. I come back for you, John." Then she come up beside him. And he said, "I ain't going north to no place else. I wouldn't leave here for nothing in the world." And he laughed. So I said, "But John, I come back for you." And they both laughed and closed the door in my face. After that, I did never again speak of John Tubman. The next time was the Christmas I went back for 3 of my brothers that was about to be sold south. I found myself right back there at the Brodus plantation, hiding in the Father house with my 3 brothers, 3 strange men, and a strange woman. We needed food before we started the next leg of our trip, and, well, I knew my mama, old Red, would have cooked a big old pig for Christmas dinner. She did every year. She would have been expecting my brothers. So I sent one of the strange men to go and find my daddy, old Ben, and let him know that we was there and needed something to eat, but not to tell old Rick, because I knew she couldn't keep secret. So by and by, old Ben came, and he brought us food, and he's wearing this blindfold over his eyes. Now see, old Ben, one of the most honest men ever lived, and with that blindfold, he could say he never laid eyes to his children. And be speaking truthful if he ever asked. Old Ben lived by his word. Before we left, I went to go look in at my mama, because I hadn't seen her in about 6 years. She was sitting there in the cabin by the fire, looking sad and old. She must have been worried about her boys not coming for dinner. Now, all her children were gone now, and she and old Ben were alone. Well, now, I can't swear it, but I think I saw a tear. One single tear. Then I knew I had to get back for her and old Ben right away. And that was the last big trip I made when I got my parents. Now, I couldn't make the usual arrangements because my parents was too old and the trip be too hard for them walking. So I went back to Bucktown and I stole an old broke down piece of horse and a rickety piece of wagon, put my parents in it and drove on out the south. Made it all the way to Canada, driving by night and hiding the wagon with my parents in it by day. Now, at first we lived in St. Catherine, Canada. Then eventually we moved and settled in Auburn, New York. Now, people cheered that rescue of my parents because they were so old and stealing that horse and wagon so bodacious. But there was a man who supported slavery, said the rescue of my parents was a diabolical act of wickedness and cruelty. He write in his book, a friend read to me, he said, "The bringing from ease and comfortable homes 2 old slaves over 70 was as cruel an act as was ever performed by a child toward parents. To steal the elderly folks from slavery was 1,000 times worse than to sell the young ones away." Can you believe that? Cruel to get my old parents out of slavery. This man ain't never been no slave. I got my whole family out of slavery. Well, except for one of my sisters that had been sold to the South. She died just before I could get to her. Well, all the while I was helping folks escape from slavery, the country was trying to decide what to do with it. There was this great debate going on between the states in the North that hated slavery and them in the South who depended on it. When I realized that debate was more about money than people, I was fit to be tied. The Southern states didn't want to lose the money they had invested in their slaves. Wanted government to pay them for their property if it going free. Now you know I can't read, so I never read it. But I understand the United States got this Constitution saying all men created equal. Why, even up to the North, where most people don't think slavery is moral, they don't like the idea of equality for black peoples. They got this group up there called, the American Colonization Society. That's trying to raise money to send free blacks and some of them slaves that they bought back to Africa, to this country there they bought called Liberia. Now, that's all well and good. Folks wants to go to this Liberia, but you can't be sending them there against their will. I was born in America, and in my mind I got a right to be here, and so do the rest of the American-born slaves. So the debate got uglier and uglier, and more slaves was running off. Then finally, the country elected a president named Lincoln, who opposed slavery. So then, the southern states decided they're going to go off and make their own country where they can keep their slaves. Now the country go to war. This be the Civil War. Now I was up in Auburn, New York, caring for my parents, when I got word that the Union Army, the North, needed help with the contraband from the war. Now see, this is another example of how the black slaves wasn't considered people. Contraband means illegal goods. The black slaves that come to the Union Army for help was considered the illegal goods of the war, not people. Oh, but I try and help them and teach them to respect themselves and nurse the sick and try and help the healthy find work. Oh, Union Army heard I had cures for diseases that was killing our soldiers like sheep, so pretty soon I was nursing them too. Wasn't long, for I was in the Union Army, using my old tricks from the Underground Railroad to lead spy and rescue missions. What? I remember one mission in particular, where alongside Colonel James Montgomery, I led gunboats up the Combahee River in Beaufort, South Carolina. Now, this after President Lincoln had signed the Emancipation Proclamation, freeing the slaves in the South. Now, the mission was to cut off supplies to Confederate soldiers and lead the freed blacks from Confederate territory. Well, now, I'll never forget how them folks left the fields and went to hide in the woods at the first sight of them gunboats. Then word passed along that these was Lincoln's gunboats come to set them free. Well, then they come down every road and cross every field, just as they left their work or their cabin. Oh, my Lord, I ain't never seen such a sight. Oh, look at here. You see a woman coming, pail on her head, rice and it still smoking just as she took it from the fire. Young'un hanging around her neck, one hand around her forehead, other hand digging in the pot, eating with all its might. Holding her skirt, 2, 3 more little ones, over her back, bag with a pig in it, kicking. They come with baskets on their heads, bags over their shoulders, young ones tagging along, all loaded, pigs squealing, chickens squawking, young ones squalling. Why, so many they came, they was afraid to let go of the rafts that was to bring them to the gunboats, lest they get left behind. So, Colonel James asked me to sing a song to calm the people. This is, of all the whole creation of the east or of the west, the glorious Yankee nation is the greatest and the best. Come along, oh come along, and don't be alarmed. Uncle Sam is rich enough to give you all a farm. And at the end of every verse, the people would throw their arms in the air and shout, glory, glory. And the rafts would push off. And so at last they was all brought on board. I was never so proud as I was on that day to see most 800 of my black brothers and sisters coming out of slavery and into freedom. The mission was a complete victory, and the Union Army didn't lose a man or half, even so much as scratch. Ooh, now you know, the Confederate Army sure was upset to find such a raid had been led by a black woman. Up to this time, black men weren't allowed to fight in the war, because a lot of white people thought the black soldiers would just turn tail and run at the sound of the first gunshots.
But I was there when that first black regiment, 54 Massachusetts, marched into battle, and no one could call any one of them men coward. After that, black men across the continent took up arms to help fight for their freedom, and that's what helped the Union Army win the war. Well, with the war over, since the North won, I thought I was free to go back to Auburn and rest and care for my parents. But when I boarded a train headed north in Washington, D.C., the conductor there refused to honor my military pass, providing me with first-class passage. And he and 3 other men dragged me through in the baggage car, wrenching my arm in the process. Didn't no one even come to my aid. I realized then I can't rest. Still too much to be done. When I went back to Auburn, I was 45, penniless, had an ache in my arm that never did quite go away. The government had promised to pay me for my service during the war, but I didn't never see a penny of that. So I planted a vegetable garden to sell and feed my family, anybody else who needed something to eat. Again, I kept my house open for anybody that needed it. And I fed them, clothed them, delivered babies, nursed the sick, told the healthy stories to help them find their way. But after all my years on the Underground Railroad and Civil War, I was bored not doing anything. So I started trying to raise money to send down to the South for schools that was being built there for black people. I want to help them get the education I never had. Ooh, but still, after the war, money was mighty hard to come by. So a friend of mine named Sarah Bradford wrote a book about my life to try and raise some. Indeed, after selling that book, we had funds enough to keep my house open and send money for the schools in the South for a good long time. And I appreciated that. I didn't appreciate being called old and infirm by that newspaper article. Now, I was only 49 by now. I had a lot of living left in me, I suppose. Well, seems there was someone else supposed that also. Man by the name of Nelson Davis, who I met during the war down in Beaufort, South Carolina, come looking for me. Want me to marry him. He 20-something years younger than me. So I was wondering why he wasn't looking for some nice young woman to wed. And he said, "Well, now, Miss Harriet, now I done heard how the government been treating you about your pension. Well, now, to tell the truth, I got tuberculosis from being in the war, so I don't expect to live too long. Now, if you be my wife, then you be due my widow's pension. Now, I just figured that's the least someone could do for you." And I said to him, "Well, now, I do thank you very kindly, but I ain't never accepted no charity for myself, and I ain't about to now. There must be something I could do for you." And he gave me this real sly look out the corner of his eye. And he said, "Well, now, I'm sure we can think of something." Ooh, he was shameless. But we was married. And the next day, the newspaper article said, "Before a large and very select audience, Miss Harriet Tubman took upon herself a husband, making one Nelson Davis a very happy man. Both born slaves. They stood there last evening free and were joined as husband and wife." So there I was, Mrs. Harriet Tubman Davis now. And people did talk, saying the only reason Nelson married me was so I could take care of him. But they didn't know, and I didn't tell them. We was married some 19 years before he passed on. All the while I was with Nelson, I sold my vegetables and kept my house open to the old and infirm and sent money for the schools in the South. I attended suffrage meetings to help fight for women's rights, and I kept fighting for civil rights too, so that black peoples could vote, own businesses, and go to schools, and didn't have to worry about being thrown in baggage cars and trains no more. But once Nelson crossing paths, I set my mind to the one last thing I wanted to do. Now, I long had my eyes on 25 acres of land that stood across the road from my house that would be the perfect place for a poor people's shelter. Well, in 1896, that land come up for auction. Now, you know, I ain't never had much in the way of money, but I knew what that land was to be for, so I went on ahead to that auction. Well, now, it looked like it was all white folks in there but me. Well, I was like a blackberry in a pail of milk. So I sat in the back corner so couldn't nobody see who was bitten. The man began low at first, and I went up by 50s. Then finally got to 1,450, and the rest stopped bidding. So the man say, "All finished, who's the buyer?" And I say, "Mrs. Harriet Tubman Davis." Oh my Lord. You should have seen the look on the face of some of them white people. See, they been outbid by a little old black woman. So I went directly across to the bank to take out a loan to pay for the land, but it was some 12 more years for the home was built. Finally, I turned the land over to the AME Zion Church that I had attended for years, and they built the home. And they call it the Harriet Tubman home. Well, now, I was pleased. But when I turned that land over to the church, what you suppose they done? They make a rule, say no one could go in the home unless they got $100. Now, I want a rule, say no one could go in there unless they got no money. What's the good of the home if the people that needs it has to have money? Well, eventually we settled our differences. And June 1911, I moved into my home. And the headline on the newspaper said, "Moses of her race moves into home she founded." The story went on to say that she was friends to great men. Now, most 100 years old, she seeks rest, her last few remaining days. Well, I had more than a few days remaining, and I spent them there in my home, telling my story, showing folks the way. Then, finally on March 10, 1913, I passed from my real life into my spirit life, with all my friends around me singing my favorite spiritual. Swing low, sweet chariot. Well, time for me to be moving on. But before I go, I want you to listen. See what you want for yourself in your mind, and don't be afraid to go after it. Now others will try to talk you into their fear, but have the courage to go after what you want with all you got. Never, ever give up on your dreams. These are things I learned in trying to find my freedom. They can help you along the way to finding yours. Coming for to carry me home. And if ever you're afraid you can't go on, remember, the Spirit of Harriet Tubman lets no one go back. I'll be there with you, believing in you for you, like I've done for so many before. There are many stories to be told. It's your turn now. Swing low, sweet chariot.